What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. I had a lot of fun doing a video like this yesterday, sort of spontaneous and impromptu, just talking about the match that I just watched after having done a prediction for it. So I'm gonna do it again here. I think this will be the norm going forward. I think this is something I want to do for all of my prediction videos, just to sort of get my thoughts out there. Hopefully improve with being able to analyze football tactics and whatnot, because I really enjoy doing that, and hopefully just growing in my love for the sport, but also helping others to grow as well. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. La remontada. This is the Spanish word for comeback. Now, interestingly, when you Google this word, this is the first thing that pops up, because this word is so closely linked to football. And I love when football does this. I love when it's able to shape our cultures and our politics and our lives as a whole. I think it shows that play becomes part of life. And I love that football is one of the very few, if not the sport, I think, that does it the best. Now, why was this such an important word in the football world this week? And it's because of this. Last week in the UEFA Champions League quarter-final at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal managed to somehow do the unthinkable and hammer Real Madrid 3-0. Now, I'm gonna be honest here, I was one of those people who said that there's no way Arsenal will get anything here. I genuinely just threw all of my weight behind Real Madrid and I said, the gun is out. And they surprised me. They served me a nice heaping helping of humble pie and I had to eat it. But for the second leg, there is so much hype about Real Madrid at the Bernabeu on a Champions League night. This is their competition. All season, Real Madrid fans and players say they want to win the Copa del Rey, they want to win the La Liga, but they need to win the Champions League. That is their trophy. It is the trophy they want the most. So going into this, every time the players were talking about, the comeback, how ready they are for this, we all expected them to come up here and come up with something really special. It is their stadium, it's their fans. They were talking about their secret weapon where they're going to close the roof of the stadium, probably for acoustics, so that when the fans are chanting and booing the opposition, it becomes exponentially more difficult for them. And instead we got this. There was no comeback. There wasn't even a fight. And I think that's the most disturbing part of it all, is that there was so much hype going into this game about how Real Madrid are ready and they are confident, and it instead started crossing over and stopped being confident at one point and started to just be plain arrogant instead. And I think that's why we saw Real Madrid fall this hard. Now, some fans took it as they should, because an L is an L, but others didn't take it that well. Again, guys, I will be showing names and faces here. This is not an invitation to attack anybody. Please do not do that. Do not hound and harass anybody online or in person for any opinion that they have. We're all allowed to have an opinion. We can critique the message, but we do not critique the messenger. It's not okay to do that. If anything, if we sort of feel that we're right, we come to a discussion and we get to that mutual understanding, but please do not attack anybody. This person says, Tsekwena, Inter will also cook either FC Barcelona or Arsenal. Anyways, we are tired of winning UEFA Champions League, so Carlo decided to start with a weak squad both legs. We all could see that wasn't the Real Madrid club football that played this quarter-final. This is cope. This is the very definition of cope. But I think because as a South African, those two words and all the laughing faces tell you this dude is trying to be funny. And my dude, it was funny. Well done. But yes, also big up to any South African viewers I have. Big up Mzansi. But I think we all know, if you look at the lineup, they went out with a fantastic team here. They went out with a team that should have been able to win this. But there is one glaring problem here, and that is there's a holding midfielder here in Tchouameni, and then there's two box-to-box midfielders in Valverde and in Jude Bellingham. Where is the playmaker? Where's the guy who's supposed to be passing the ball around? Are you expecting Jude Bellingham to do that? Because he's not going to do that. At least not in the capacity that a player like Toni Kroos was going to do. Luka Modric is still at Real Madrid. Yes, he can perform this role, probably the best in world football at doing it right now. But the problem with Modric is he's not very mobile anymore. He's gotten along with age. He doesn't have the legs anymore. And now Carlo Ancelotti realized he was in a situation where he could go one holding midfielder and two box to box, or go two box to box and one playmaker. But his team is already 3-0 down, and he's probably thinking, we don't want to concede more. We need to be able to win the ball back, and then hopefully between Valverde and Bellingham, they have enough playmaker in them to be able to distribute it, or to be able to make that supporting run and then just connect with the strikers there. And then we just didn't see that happen instead. Instead, what we saw was a Real Madrid team that had all of the ball and did nothing with it. Just passed it around, typical of holding midfielders and box-to-box midfielders. Keeping the ball, passing it around, keeping the opposition pinned back, but doing absolutely nothing to go forward. I think though, again, there are some people who are pretty jaded by this, and I think they're not upset at losing. I think they might sort of project it and make it seem like they're pissed at Arsenal or Arsenal fans, but I don't think so. I think they're more frustrated with their team. Somebody says Arsenal won title in 25 years, in Europe nothing. Next round, bye-bye. Average club with 0 successes. Tottenham 2.0. This dude knew what he was doing, because he knew, the actual insult is not one title in 25 years, in Europe nothing. That's not the insult. The insult here is Tottenham 2.0, because that is going to drive an Arsenal fan nuts. Just to be compared with Spurs, who they're constantly mocking all the time. But again, I think, you can see this dude knows his football. That's a satirical post. It's not meant to upset anybody. And I think it's witty. It's something that only football fans will understand. It's kind of like an inside joke. But I think overall, Real Madrid fans know what they got was not good enough. Somebody says, lol, though we lost as a Real Madrid fans, but tonight we were served pap. Google it to understand in SA. Again, another South African joke. But yes, they were served pap, essentially. They were served pap. It wasn't a good performance from them at all. Why that is, it could be politics in the dressing room, it could be clashing of egos, it could be team selection, it could be tactics. I think it is a combination of all that. And yes, I think team selection as well. Somebody here says, hot take by the way, as a Real Madrid fan, I never agreed with the Mbappe signing. There's a reason PSG has gone further in this competition. Well done, Arsenal. Enjoy the win. Obviously, giving credit to Arsenal. Fantastic work there. Not agreeing with the Mbappe signing. I think that's a very hot take. There's a reason PSG has gone further in this competition. I don't think Mbappe not being with PSG has particularly made PSG better. I think, yes, it has weakened PSG, but PSG then adapted to a new style of play, and now they've got Kvaratskhelia as well from Napoli. So they went out there, they lost a goal scorer, they brought in a player who can score and who can create, because they know they do have others who can still score. Real Madrid lost Toni Kroos and went and brought in Kylian Mbappe. I don't understand the logic. You've lost a playmaker, a person who creates for you, who dictates the entire tempo of the game, and you go and bring in a goal scorer when you have goal scorers. They have Vinicius Jr., they have Rodrigo, they have Fede Valverde who can play on those wings as well. They have Jude Bellingham. You have goal scorers. Why did you go and get another one? And then the problem comes up as well, where you can't leave Rodrigo or Vinicius Jr. on the bench. So you want to play with 3 midfielders, but now you have no playmaker, because you need an anchor and you need 2 box-to-box players. But now you also still want to have 3 forwards, which means you gotta have 3 centre-backs. And they don't have that either. Real Madrid don't have the capacity to play with that, because their defensive midfielder doesn't do enough to be able to protect that back 3 then. And I think you really just throw the entire dynamic of the team off by bringing in somebody like Kylian Mbappe. I think Real Madrid actually needed to bring in a striker who works harder in the front without the ball, and who's a little bit more physical, but who also is humble enough to understand he will be rotated with others. And I think Julian Alvarez would have been perfect for Real Madrid. I think Atletico Madrid really scored with Alvarez, but I think Real Madrid really lost out. And Alvarez has proven that alongside Griezmann, he can play in a strike duo up front. And he had to leave Man City because he was on the bench all the time because of Haaland. But Real Madrid lost out. They went out and basically got another Vinicius Jr. to go with their Vinicius Jr. And that's not going to work out because now you've got two players who are competing for the Ballon d'Or in the same position at the same club. It's not going to work out because eventually those egos are going to clash and you're going to have some sort of dressing room friction. And Real Madrid have really thrown a lot behind Vinicius Jr. being the superstar at the club and then Kylian Mbappe being the next superstar at the club while that superstar is there. Speaking of Vinicius Jr., somebody says Vinicius Jr. was exceptional with those runs. He just needed to add a little more effort and run out of the stadium and never come back again. Come on, you Gunners. Again, you know, it's so difficult when you have the same kinds of player in a team and you don't have anybody to knit it together. Real Madrid really just made things so much harder for themselves unnecessarily. And with the players also, like I said, going in with so much confidence bordering on arrogance, it didn't help the situation. Somebody here says Arsenal were training while Real Madrid and Fabrizio Romano were shouting remontada the whole week. That's what it feels like. It feels like they said, we are ready for this match. We will show you what we can do. We have a secret weapon. That secret weapon, by the way, was them closing the roof of the Bernabeu, probably to help with the acoustics so that Arsenal feel more intimidated. But the result of that was this. They closed the roof of the stadium. They ended up suffocating themselves. And that's what it felt like. It felt like there was no spirit. There was no life in Real Madrid. I think when we look at the stats as well, it shows you that they had more of the ball, but they did nothing with it. Almost double the possession that Arsenal had, almost double the amount of passes, but less shots on target. More shots, yes, you're taking shots at the goal, but they're not on target, they're not even threatening the goalkeeper. Then what's the point? So I think really Real Madrid players and the club need to go back, they need to look at what's happening there. They need to find a replacement for Toni Kroos, and I think Kevin De Bruyne is in the market now. This is the time. And I don't think Kevin De Bruyne is going to be a long-term solution. I think when De Bruyne reaches Modric's age, then they'll look for the next player to come up, or maybe then Bellingham will be able to do it. But I think Real Madrid need to get a replacement here. At the end of the day, I'm a person who loves the sport of football. I want to see things go well for everybody. And I understand only one team can win a trophy like the Champions League. But I want to see every club put in a great performance because I think their fans deserve that. I think the fans of every football club go out there and they sacrifice so much to watch their teams, whether it's time, sometimes money. I've seen ticket prices in Europe. It's insane. But I think, you know, your fans deserve better than this. And Real Madrid players really need to go back and look at what they were doing in this match because it didn't look like they were 3-0 down. It looked like they felt they were 5-0 up. And if they had lost here by 3-1 and they were knocked out 4-3 on aggregate, I don't think anybody really would have complained that much. I think it would have felt like it was, you know, it was a victory in defeat, like Borussia Dortmund. They got knocked out by Barcelona, but my goodness, did they make Barcelona work for it. And everybody who watched that game absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic game of football. Aston Villa didn't just roll over against Paris Saint-Germain. Bayern Munich went to Inter Milan and they gave the Nerazzurri a real run for their money. But Real Madrid welcomed Arsenal and they didn't even put up a fight. The worst part of it all is the only goal that Real Madrid got was because Saliba was a little too cocky in his own box. If he had not tried to nutmeg Vinicius Jr., he wouldn't have lost the ball and Real Madrid wouldn't even have scored. There was no remontada. For all you haters, go eat your words. Absolutely brilliant performance in both legs. I will happily eat my words. I was served a whole lot of humble pie in the first leg and I was given a second helping now in the second leg. I did expect Real Madrid to at least win on the day but not do enough to knock Arsenal out. But the Gunners just went out there and they proved they belong in the semi-finals right now, and if you're PSG or Inter or Barcelona, you can't be looking at this team and taking them lightly. Thank you once again, guys, for joining me here and listening to this little football rant. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like down below or comment. Let me know, how did you guys feel about the match? What do you think went wrong? What do you think went right? More importantly, though, improvements. What do you think these teams could do to play better on the day? And finally, if you wanna stick around for some more fun football content, perhaps consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thank you for joining me and have an awesome day further.